Hey, everybody, it's Trags alongside Alex Barth and Evan Lazar. The Patriots come out big-time winners on Thursday Night Football, beating the Colts 38-24. This report is brought to you by 1in100. Go to 1in100.co and register for your chance to win some of the best tickets to sporting events and concerts anywhere. All right, guys, the running game, just a couple of weeks ago, it was left for dead by critics out there, and Lord knows there are a lot of them out there, but so all of a sudden, Sony Michel and James White have become the most dynamic duo in the NFL overnight. In this win, it's James White with 10 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. 18 carries for Sony Michel, 98 yards, almost another 100-yard game. What gives, Evan?
Well, let me start by crediting the boys up front, right? You got to give some credit to this offensive line.
Like we did on Sunday.
Dante Scarnecchia doing a great job after a really slow start to the season. I especially was disappointed in their performance against Detroit, where Detroit had just been run on by everybody in the Patriots offensive line. Just couldn't execute and really couldn't open up holes for Sony Michel. Last 2 weeks, bravo to the offensive line. They have done a fantastic job. There are some massive holes that Alex Barth could run through for a touchdown on some of these plays. So I really want to give a lot of credit to the offensive line before we get into giving credit to the running backs.
Alex?
I'm going to keep rolling with the complementary football. I think the running game and the passing game have developed together. I think as the Patriots are throwing the ball better, it's giving more opportunities to that running game as teams have to divert more resources to covering the pass. And I think, look, we trashed the Patriots in the parking lot right after that Detroit game. That why are they giving the ball so much to Sony Michel? I'm wrong. I was wrong. It paid off. I said,
well,
you can't
here's what you say about that. But here's what the big criticism was after the Detroit game. It wasn't giving it to Sony Michel. It was what happened to James White, and they have since solved that dilemma, right?
Well, that's part of it, but I think part of it, too, is Michel didn't have the preseason reps. That essentially was his preseason. We said this guy looks like he's not ready. He wasn't ready. Now he is. I think the game has slowed down for him. He has a better idea of what he's looking at, and that's really helped him kind of develop into the back. We've seen the last 2 weeks, and then, yes, the emergence of James White also has keyed in on that, and I think they're more comfortable now breaking up Michel's snaps. I think they wanted to give him consecutive snaps, get him into a rhythm. It worked. Look, it cost them 2 games. I think it's safe to say 1, maybe 2 games, but will it win them games down the road? Again, I may not have been as spot on as I could have after that Detroit game. Emotions were running high.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, no,
Evan.
I just want to say I talked to Sony about some of the things that you brought up in the locker room after the game, and I asked him 2 things. I asked him, one, was the game moving too fast for you in the beginning? And he kind of said he hemmed and hawed and didn't want to admit to that.
Right.
But he said sort of, in that one thing that he really gave a lot of credit to was that the Patriots defense has really simulated game action for him in practice, and basically what they've done is they've just swarmed defenders around him, and they've thrown more. I think he didn't say this, but I think that they were playing sometimes with 12 or 13 guys on the field to make it faster for Sony, and so he could get used to the game speed. And then the other thing
that's just brilliant.
The other thing that he said was that they did a really good job of him, executing his reads better behind his blocking and trusting his blocking, remaining patient, allowing the blocking to develop in front of him, and then hitting the holes rather than just kind of coming out guns blazing and hitting the holes too soon, which I think that we've all kind of pointed to as sort of an issue for him. So I think that if you're looking for what kind of change for Sony Michel from, weeks 2 and 3 to weeks 4 and 5, I would say that the speed of the game has slowed down for him a little bit, and also he's more reliant on his blocking now, and he's allowing the blocking to develop in front of him.
Okay, 2 big things I want to bring up here in the running attack. First of all, the Patriots are doing much better on 1st and 2nd down, making for a shorter 3rd down, which makes them much less predictable.
On both sides of the ball, really.
On both sides of the ball, and they're giving the ball to their running back, Sony Michel, in 3rd down situations. Those 2 things, I think, bode very well for the balance for the Patriots offense the rest of the year. I know Bill Belichick, whenever he gets asked about this, always says, I don't care about balance. I care about putting points on the board. Tom Brady said the same thing after the win here tonight. But it's all about positional, like you said, complementary football.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, what you're seeing right now with Sony Michel is you're seeing a guy that is in sync with his offensive line. And I think that that's mainly stemming from the fact that it doesn't feel like it did in those first 2 weeks where the weight of the world was on his shoulders because they just kept on feeding him the rock over and over again. And I highlighted some of these things on Twitter about how when he was under center and he was on the field, it was a handoff to Sony Michel like 90% of the time, which was just unbelievably high, right? And just not sustainable. So what they've been able to do is kind of, get his snaps, some passing snaps, some rushing snaps, and it's allowed him to kind of get more of a rhythm. But let's talk about James White too, because I wanted to get on
well, and I think the thing you always say about the Patriots and running backs in the passing game, the short pass is like a run, right? And that is James White.
Well, I said that in the pregame show with just 2 running backs on the roster, one of them coming through, recovering from a knee injury. They were going to have to use the passing game as the running game at points tonight, especially when they got the lead late. And James White, another 10 catches. There's this new breed of running back that really blurs the line between running back and receiver, a receiver that mostly lines up out of the backfield. And if James White's not leading the charge, he's up there towards the front. I think the element he has for this offense, he's going to get compared to that Kevin Falk, Danny Woodhead, Shane Vereen role, but he's taken that to another level. That role was 3rd down, maybe 2nd and 10 plus, something like that. No, he's coming out and playing that role on 2nd and 3, 2nd and 5. He's playing that role on 1st and 10, and I think sometimes, even though he's been doing this for a couple years now, teams don't quite know what they're looking at with it, and they're not quite sure how to defend it.
All right, go ahead, Evan.
No, I was going to piggyback off of that. I think James White's the best receiving back the Patriots have had in this era. I really do. I think he's better than Kevin Falk. I think he's better than Shane Vereen because of 2 reasons. One, he can make guys miss with the absolute best of them in this league. I mean, you get a one-on-one situation with him in the secondary or on the perimeter, and it's blouses. I mean, that big 18-yard catch that he had, I think it was in the second quarter, is definitely in the first half. He just had a one-on-one situation, and he just juked the guy right out of his shoes, and that's just time and time again what happens with him. And also the downfield route running ability. Now, Brady missed him on the throw, but he was able to run that wheel route 40 yards down the field like a receiver, and he had a beat on the pass, and it just was a little bit overthrown.
And I think part of the problem is safeties and linebackers are too slow to cover him. If you have a safety or linebacker who can do it, they're covering Rob Gronkowski. You could put a corner on him, but corners, it's a whole new thing for a corner to guard somebody coming out of the backfield. So again, he just presents this really unique mismatch that teams still haven't caught up to.
It's taken 4 weeks, but the Patriots have apparently found their running game in the persons of James White and Sony Michel. This report has been powered by 1in100. Go to 1in100.co for the best deals anywhere on sports tickets and concert tickets. Go to 1in100.co and register today.